Welcome to the 10th video on the series on using social media as an academic. In this one, we're going to talk about personal branding. First of all, a caveat. For most of these videos, I've been using my own practice and experience as an example. Probably for this personal branding, you should use my example as a counter example. I'm not someone who's concerned about my personal brand, and I'm occasionally a shit poster. A shit poster, if you don't know the adjective, is someone who from time to time, maybe too many times, tweets or posts something that that person finds personally funny, but it may be that it's only funny for them. Okay, so if you are starting your career, maybe you should try to avoid this kind of behavior. That said, personal branding may remind you of self-help books in airport bookstores and coaching skill workshops. By the way, this is an example of shitposting. So you should decide if making this kind of comments is useful for you, a part of providing some kind of relief. Okay, so if you remember what we discussed about the rules of Twitter, the first one was that a tweet should be informative, educational, funny, or entertaining. If you just keep yourself as an networked self, and I'm talking about academic persona, you are not going to try to be funny or entertaining. So you're not going to become guilty of shitposting. But if you try to be funny or entertaining and you fail on that, maybe you're entering the shitposting area. So just think about that. The term itself, personal branding, appeared for the first time in an article in Fast Company in 1997, but the truth is that most of the ideas covered by personal branding can be dated back to the 1930s, with the book How to Win Friends and Influence People and the other book Think and Grow Rich by Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill. The idea of personal branding is quite simple. You need to post yourself, to place yourself in the memory of a target audience. And you have to project, you have to evoke on them an image of credibility and authority within a specific area. So you're in a position of influence over that audience regarding the specific area you're trying to place your brand. The thing is that some people consider this crucial. So, for instance, here you have this tweet that has been quoted about the importance of having of building a brand, and then you have this other person saying that their initial reaction to branding was repugnance. Okay, so maybe personal branding sounds repugnant to you too, but this person is providing some interesting ideas, like rephrasing that, not using the term brand. You're not going to brand yourself, but you need to provide some kind of comprehensive global vision about your work and your research, a unifying look. So call it branding, call it unifying outlook, calling whatever you want. But the thing is that somehow by reading your name, you should evoke something on the brains and minds of your audience. You may wonder, wasn't this the purpose of visibility? No way. Visibility is necessary, but not enough to create a personal brand. Okay? So what do you need to create a personal brand? What do you need to evoke in the minds of your audience that image of credibility and authority in a given field? Well, literature is vast but tenuous, especially regarding academics. So I selected a number of elements that I find reasonable and that can be achieved with not a great effort, just through an exercise of constant work, but not a tremendous effort. So in the slides you have the links to each of the papers. You have this one, branding yourself, not as painful as you think. You have this other one, how to digitally market yourself, a beginner's guide for students in academics, and brand journalism and personal branding in academia. I put all of this in a blender and I prepared this short list of recommendations. The first one is your name. You may think I already have a name. No, you have to decide on how you're going to use your name. Okay, so in case of researchers from Latin America, Hispanic America, and Spain, I have some piece of advice for them. For other researchers, the idea is that you have to talk to your colleagues, okay? Because there are different naming customs in different countries. So for instance, you need to decide how you are going to use your middle name. You need to decide how you're going to use your surname, especially if you're a woman and you plan on changing your surname after being married or things like that, okay? So the thing with naming is there are plenty of customs, they differ across countries, but the thing is that you should choose one name for your academic persona, and you need to use that name consistently across platforms and across papers, because otherwise you may get confused with other people. Ideally, when you choose a username, an alias, a Twitter handle, you should try to use the same one on every platform. Now, your show biography, your description. Different platforms are going to have different lengths, so you should try to tailor a bio that is suitable, that fits in every single platform. Okay, 2 or 3 sentences, no more. And you should answer the following 3 questions: who, what, and where. Who you are, but who you are, I mean the position you are holding, what you do, that is, what are your current research lines, or maybe a project, a grant you're working at this moment, and where, the institution or institutions you're working in. Picture, you need a picture, sorry. Uh, the picture, if it's a picture of yourself, should be professional and high quality. Okay, and you're going to use the same across platforms. Please don't use family or pets, or don't put a picture of you with your partner. That's a real bad idea. It's not professional, right? But if it's a problem for you to use a photograph of your face, that can be an issue for women, okay, because they don't want to attract unnecessary attention because of their looks. You can use a logo, or you can hire someone to draw a portrait or an avatar. There are plenty of services that are doing a great job with that, creating avatars for people from their pictures, and they look great on social media. But the thing is that whatever you are going to put in that bubble, it should remind people instantly of you, the academic person. The header. Many platforms have a space for a picture on the header. The header is not a decoration. It should be something remarkable, something illustrative, and you should try to use the same across platforms too. So, you're using the same name, the same bio, the same picture, the same header across platforms. And the idea is that you need to achieve ubiquity, that is, to be everywhere. Of course, you're not going to be everywhere. You are just a person, you are not a company. So the thing is that you should try to find the most relevant platforms according to your area of expertise. As I said, some knowledge fields are more prone to use ResearchGate, others tend to use LinkedIn, others use Twitter. The thing is that you should find which is the platform where you should really be and create an account there. Anyway, you know what my recommendation is. You need a personal website, you need a Google Scholar profile, you need a Twitter account, and you need profiles in Orchid and Publons. That's the minimum. I can accept that you are going to change Twitter for other things, but personal website, Google Scholar profile, Orchid, and Publons are the bare minimum. If you want to add ResearchGate or LinkedIn to the mix, it's fine. And you need to link between them. Of course, in Google Scholar profile and Twitter, you know that you can put the personal website, but you can add links in your bio, so you can link to other social media platforms. And in different social media platforms, they tend to ask you for other platforms, so link among them. If you are providing those links, you are using the same bio, you're using the same picture, you're using the same header, you're using the same name, sooner or later, you're going to achieve a good position, top ranks on search engines when looking for you. And that's the goal. Remember, people, researchers are going to gossip on you. And what they have is your name. So they're going to enter your name on Google. And the idea is that the top results is everything related to your academic persona and it's controlled by you. That is, it's your online presence on social media platforms that you control, not just your digital footprint. Now, regarding interactions, you have to be polite and open to dialogue. If at this point you are starting to say, I don't think I'll be able to do that, okay, that's fine, but we will discuss that. Probably you're not going to create a great personal brand, okay? It doesn't matter. Important, you need to focus on a niche market. You cannot be a factotum. You cannot discuss one day COVID-19, the next day inflation, and the third one, the Russian invasion on Ukraine. You cannot do that. You have to decide which is your niche market, okay? What are you going to talk about? And you are not going to move a lot beyond that. You have to produce original, clear, and accurate content in response to current events, but within your area of expertise. This other point, the eighth one, can be also problematic. This is related to time management. If you are really good at that, maybe you are able to produce this. If you are not good, like my case, then probably you cannot do this. So maybe your brand is not going to be great because you are not a consistent producer of content, but when you are going to produce or you are going to reuse your content, please try to apply this eighth point. The content must be up to date and your image consistent across platforms. I mean, the video should be updated, the picture should be updated. And you may say, but your picture is not updated. Yeah, I know. It's a bit old. And the image should be consistent. I mean, if you change your picture and your bio in your website, you should apply the same changes in every single platform. Otherwise, it's going to be confusion for your audience. And finally, until your career is reasonably established, you should use social media in a professional manner. That is, the topics, the language, the way of behaving should be professional. That is, you should seek to create a network self or a teaching self and avoid being a comprehensive self and above all, to be a shit poster. Of course, this is just a recommendation. a recommendation that I didn't apply to myself. I have been a shit poster most of my life. So you have to decide. You have to decide if that part of yourself should be there, being a shit poster or not. So, again, my example, here we have my name. And my name in every single platform is this one, Daniel Gallo Abello. That's the pronunciation, no Daniel Gallo Abello, okay? Uh, for English speakers, native English speakers, try to learn how to pronounce people's names, right? Don't go saying Santiago of the seas, things like that, okay? A bit of respect. So the hyphen, uh, English speakers finding people with Hispanic names. The reason for the hyphen, it's not that people in Spain and Hispanic America are having their surnames with hyphens. No, it's that we have two surnames, right? So this advice is for academics whose name follows the customs of Spain and Hispanic America. Please talk to your colleagues, because for many years we have been doing that, using an hyphen if we want to show our two surnames. Some people have just used the first surname, that is their father's surname, but if it's really common, it's a bad idea, it's a poor decision, because sooner or later other researchers are going to have exactly your same name and surname. But for Spaniards and Hispanic Americans, please read this fantastic article by Joana Goyes Vallejos, who decided to remove the hyphen. No, I'm not going to use the hyphen. I told her in Twitter that she's really brave. I'm not that brave. I'm not. I don't have that faith on databases, and much less on researchers who are not accustomed, who are not used to finding people with chooser names. So I'm going to go on with that hyphen. But you need to decide that earlier, and you should discuss this with other colleagues to see what's going to work the best for you. Regarding the picture, the same picture everywhere, except of course those platforms like, for instance, Scopus and Semantic Scholar that don't have a picture there. Okay, I'm observing here OurSeed, Semantic Scholar, Scopus, and remember that you can cross links between them. Okay, so the picture, the header, here you have one of the first mistakes. On Twitter, I have a header that I keep updated, and I've been using for a long time, well, not a long time, maybe 2 years, that header with a selection, 5 publications that are really important for me and that somehow define my niche market. On YouTube, since I created the channel when I was delivering some lectures that were recorded about the impossibility, the infeasibility of predicting elections, I put that header with advertising of future teller. I should change it on YouTube, okay? Now, ubiquity. If you look for my name is my brand, Google, with the usernames, I appear everywhere. Very nice. If you use just the first surname, I appear in top positions. The pictures are related to me, most of them, but of course there are other persons with the same first surname and the same name, which is who is another university professor in Spain. And even if we go to the really informal brand, Dani Gallo, I still appear a top position there. And other persons, other people with my same name appear there, okay? But I'm still appearing uh, in lots of results, okay? Needless to say, you may think that uh, when you were thinking about personal branding, you were thinking about other thing, like it's saturating a field so a field is related only to you. Well, if you are at such position, if you are such a pope in your knowledge field, you don't need any of this advice, okay? So I hope the best for you, but I don't really think that most of what are watching to this advice are going to saturate their field in such a way, okay? Maybe you are going to appear, but you're not going to appear in such top results. So when personal branding, I'm talking about who's this guy? Who's citing me? Danny Gallo. Click. Oh, that guy. Okay? That's the idea of ubiquity. We're not Coke, we are not Nike. The niche market. This is my niche market. As you may see, it's about social media, it's about prediction, it's about politics. Okay? Niche market are good for one reason, because uh, within a niche market you are not very likely, but it's easier to saturate the market with your brand. But we're going to see that has some issues that I'm going to discuss in no time. So, what I'm doing wrong regarding personal branding, because I told you that I'm not a good example. You may say, well, but you have chosen, you have decided on how to use your name, you have the same picture, you have a niche market, you have ubiquity. What are you doing wrong? Well, there is some lack of consistency regarding the headers, but that's peccata minuta. That's not the main problem. The problem, the mistakes I make, is that I have no plan when creating content. You may think, well, you should surely have a plan to deliver these videos and so on. No, no. I needed to create the slides. I knew that I was to deliver that by video lecture, so I planned to record that. But my plan initially was to record the lectures and just trim whatever was related to my uni and then upload that to YouTube. But then I started thinking that I needed to rehearse a little bit because this seminar was not a short lecture. They were going to be 5 hours, and I needed to know that they were going to be actually 5 hours. So I needed to rehearse. So I thought, well, if I rehearse, I can record the rehearsal and then watch the videos and practice on that and so on. And then I started thinking, yes, but this is really interesting for other people. There are other people providing advice about this in English. I'm going to recommend a number of them in another video, but I thought, well, I can quite easily translate all the materials and record the videos also in English. So it was something that I decided on the fly, and at this moment I can confess that I'm a bit tired of it, but I need to finish. So I have no plans. I certainly don't create content on response to current affairs. So you need to decide if you are going to do that, and if you're going to do that, you need to schedule for that. I try to avoid conversations. Yes, I know I told you, you have to be polite and open to dialogue. Uh, it's not for me. As I told you, I'm not great at socializing. Okay, so I'm not a great chatter, and I've found Twitter not the best tool to have meaningful debate, so I try to avoid it. And in addition to that, I forget my manners. Yeah, and I'm prone to flaming. And since I developed a comprehensive self, not because I had decided to do that. I found that I was developing a comprehensive self when I found that paper, and I said to myself, oh, so this is me. So yes, there are limits. I'm not talking about family, I'm not talking about friends. I tend to avoid politics, but I'm a shit poster. So all of that things doesn't help to project an image of authority and seriousness. Particularly when you go to my Twitter profile and the pinned tweet says that I'm not serious. Okay? So don't follow my steps. Because otherwise you're going to feel this sooner or later. Okay, I'm on this tweet and I don't like it. Uh, uh, from time to time you are tweeting silly things, and then someone who you admire a lot, who's a great professional or a great researcher, clicks like, and you receive that like, and you say, oh dear, look what this person is liking on my timeline. So if you tend to be a shit poster, in the end, you're not going to win friends and influence people. You are going to lose friends and alienate people. So try to avoid it, right? These are the Kardashians. Yes, they are the Kardashians. What have the Kardashians has to do with this? Well, the thing is that even doing personal branding right, you can still have downsides. We're going to discuss this in the section devoted to the disadvantages of using social media as an academic. We're going to discuss what the science Kardashians are. And in addition to that, you can get typecast. Peter Falk was a great actor, but most people remember him because of Columbo. So, from my own perspective, uh, creating yourself or placing yourself as a top brand within a niche market in research is good, but it's also difficult to move beyond that. And sometimes you want just to move on, you want to turn page, you want to change what you are doing, and it's really difficult because they are asking to review papers from the same topics once and again. They are asking you to be on panels the same topic once and again, and you just want to move on. Okay, so with this we finish the discussion about personal branding in academia, and in the next video we're going to discuss whether it's wise or not to involve students with social media.